You read the title, let's just get right into this. Yo dudes and dudettes, your friendly neighborhood JaxBlade is back with another video for y'all today. And I got this interesting email to my account and I just had to do a video on it because let me read this to you. It starts off with Baki and Kengan Plausible, so you already got my ass with that. And it comes from Son Goku, first off, big fan. And it says, "Hey Jax, big fan of your work." Oh, twinsies. And so I had a question that popped into my head that I'd love to hear your take on. I recently read through all of Kengan Ashura and all of Kengan Omega, and I fell in love with it. It's amazing. But I also watched through Baki season 1 and 2 and cured my LOBS. All right, I love that. Like, I hope most of my subscribers have cured themselves of LOBS. And I watched all the Netflix show as well. My question is, do you think it is practical to be that big and ripped in real life, to be able to move and fight like these characters? All of them look like Olympic level show ready bodybuilders and are fighting like superpowered light heavyweight pro fighters. Wouldn't being that bulky and ripped slow you down immensely unless you were roided up like Jack, LOL? Love to hear your thoughts and hype for your TMNT video. Aw, thanks dude, really appreciate all that stuff. So let's just dive right into this, and first let's knock it out the get-go.
Actually, they're drawn that way. They can do whatever they want. It's fiction.
I know, okay? I know. We're just having fun here, doing these hypotheticals. Been doing this for years now, all right? I love doing it. It's just fun for me, all right? If you enjoy my vibe, stick around. If you don't, sit and spin. I don't give a damn, but we're gonna talk about this just for the hell of it. But one thing I will talk about that they did bring up that I actually agree with is the fact that it is fiction, all right? So like, just look at your favorite heroes from freaking comic books, video games, anime, whatever, your shows, cartoons, you know, stuff like that. Like, they always design them to look their absolute best so they can look like freaking anything because of the way they're drawn. And it just happens that the aesthetic that sells best is that, you know, bodybuilder physique on stage, that freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger, perfect proportions, stuff like that physique. The reason that is just it looks so strong, it looks so masculine, it looks so powerful. That's why they always use it in media. So like sometimes it can just be a bit insane when they're like, oh yeah, my character, it looks like this, they're designed like this, they have like 3% body fat, and then like you go, wait, what? Yeah, like they can do all this awesome cool stuff though, bro. It's really dope, but it's just like, what? Because like once you like study all this stuff like health and fitness wise, there's a bunch of stuff that starts clicking, you go, that just doesn't seem probable. Now to go off the thing of like, would it be plausible to like have those type of physiques and fight like they do? Like, first off, let's just break this down into a couple pieces. The first thing we have to look at is the fact that there are big giant fighters out there. I've talked about them many times before. There are just tons of freaking guys out there who are yoked, who can throw punches, throw leg kicks, throw bombs that are just insane to witness. And it's just like, wow, dude, that looks like a real life Baki character. But when you like just go about looking at it and comparing realistically, there are a few things to look at. But someone would bring up is most of those guys don't have true Baki Kengan physiques. Now, I'm not saying that to belittle anyone at all. Like, what I'm saying, because I know a bunch of people will see this and be like, no, I have a Baki physique, I fight all the time and I do this. It's just like, no. Like, this is what I'm saying right now. Okay, so there's this very common misconception with a lot of people where they see someone who's like big and massive and that equates them to being like on stage physique-wise, just physique-wise, that's all I'm talking about right now, with like a bodybuilder who's on stage. Now, what I mean by that is, let's take a few people who are just, you know, got broad shoulders, ripped abs, and decently sized arms. So, you know, think of someone like Chris Hemsworth Thor, Prime Mike Tyson, Anthony Joshua, you know, there's a few right there, all right? These ones right here. They are all phenomenal physiques. All of them are great. They're big, they're ripped, they're aesthetic, they look freaking awesome. But if you put them next to someone who's like a legit bodybuilder, like on stage ready and prepped, then there's like a big discrepancy in physiques. And it's not because of the size, it's primarily because of the body fat, which we'll talk about in depth in a second. Also, another important thing to bring up is the fact that like being leaner makes you appear bigger. It's a cool optical illusion just because you have more muscularity showing. So if you have like a decent frame and you lose fat from that frame, a lot of people are going to think, oh my god, you got way bigger just because your muscles are more visible now, even if you are the same size. Hell, it works so well that if you were like a lean figure, like you had a lean body and then you put 5 to 10 pounds on that lean body, people will think you put on like 30-40 pounds because of how insane that look is. Because again, a lot of people will just see, you know, decently sized arms, ripped abs, and broad shoulders, and they'll be like, that dude is like the equivalent of Hercules, like he's insanely strong and powerful and all that, and he most definitely is. is. That's no one's taking that away from him. But what I'm saying is, if you're just saying, I'm talking purely about physique right now, the physique is not comparable to like that of a ripped bodybuilder on stage who's actively like got their body fat that low for a purpose. And that is not a bad thing. That's what I'm trying to get in y'all heads. Like these people look amazing and they have like bodies that anyone would love to wake up with, and then they just are also athletic and put that to good use. They are able to use their bodies to the top of their advantage and get like the best out of them because they do it. If you're training like a bodybuilder to just that would be one of the main ways to get those type of physiques that you see in Baki, even with, you know, like that, of course. But something I want to talk about now is the difference between training like a bodybuilder and difference than training like someone who has to do a sport like that, which is fighting all the time. Because if you're just trying to be a fighter, right? Because that's what you're asking. Like, if you want a physique like Baki, besides, you know, like that, you probably would do like a lot of bodybuilding just to get that aesthetic down, to make every muscle have every striation and feather, every vein is pulsating, every part of your body is sculpted looking like it's chiseled out of marble. Now, if you're trained like a bodybuilder and do all that stuff while you know that as well, then of course you can look like that. And you know, even naturally you can, but that's just a lot of work, but I'll talk about that again later in this video. But training like a bodybuilder and training like a fighter are two very different things, as I mentioned before. Like if you're training like a bodybuilder, then your just main goal is hypertrophy, making sure the muscles look absolutely sculpted and look beautiful as fuck, and then making them also just like as lean as possible for your, you know, your contest. So when you're on stage, you look like freaking either as massive as possible but as ripped as possible, so every muscle is just, you know, glowing, or you're just trying to make yourself, you know, as proportional as possible, depending on what your, you know, thing is. It could be men's physique, it could be bodybuilding, and that's completely fine as well. But I'm saying, if you were to do that, just that type of training routine, and then try to get into a ring with someone who actually trains like an actual fighter, you would get laid the hell out like pretty dang bad, just from conditioning, power, stamina. There's a bunch of stuff that they don't take into consideration. You will become super strong. You can become like strong and muscular, but for the most part, your thing isn't about strength and power. It's just about looking good. And the Baki characters, you know, look at him. Look at him. He's a freaking god. He looks like freaking aesthetically, he's blessed, like everything, which I have another video, which I won't spoil, coming out later this week with some Joseph action. But I just wanted to bring that up very clearly because a lot of people get that in their heads that, oh, if I train this way, I can look this way as well. And that's not necessarily the case. And of course, there's always going to be outliers. Like I always say, everybody is different and reacts differently because not everyone is the same. There are some people out there who could do that sort of routine and then their body will just allow them to do that. And I'll talk about that later in depth in a later video coming this week. But that's just something to keep in mind as well with it. But one of the biggest things about the Baki physique and fighting isn't the muscle size, as we've talked about, because like, you know, here's a great one. Here's Michael Jai White, right? Michael Jai White is a beast. Like, he is a legit beast in all the stuff he's able to accomplish. Like, you can go watch a dude fight, go watch a dude kick. Dude is big, moves like a featherweight. It's insane. But here is something he mentioned when doing his video. Like, there he was talking about when he was getting ready for the Universal Soldier 2. And when he would train for the Universal Soldier 2, he had to get super lean, and I'll just let him say it for himself.
The one on the far left, I'm 240. The one on the right, I'm 210 pounds. Right now, I'm roughly 215. On Universal Soldier, The Return, probably was my leanest. I was about 208 during Universal Soldier, 208, 210 some days. And but actually, I paid the price. I was on a really unique diet. But what I did was trick my body into losing all of its body fat. But it got me down to 3%, and I got very, very sick. I caught the flu, and at the end of the shooting, I had to be rushed to the hospital. My sweet spot has always been right where I am now, about between 215 and 220. And even when I get down lower, I get more lean. But as I mentioned, that makes me more susceptible to getting sick.
Because remember this, it's not just the size, it's the body fat percentage as well. So for example, if you were built like The Big Show, Yeah, think like the Big Show, right? And you were like freaking 2% body fat, 3% body fat, just like freaking just all muscle. All right, your way of moving would not be as efficient as if you had a higher body fat percentage. Well, I even talked about this in a previous video, so bam. Because again, if you're a bigger guy who is leaner, it is a lot more taxing to do long endurance stuff like fighting is. Like you can do like short bursts and be like super athletic and lean and stuff like that, but if you're trying to like fight for like, I don't know, 15 rounds, like freaking Ali back in the day, then it's going to just be a lot more gassing to you, so if you're not trained for it. So that's just something to keep in mind with this whole ordeal of like Kengan and Baki physiques. Like they're these big giant bodybuilders fighting like freaking like pro athletes at the top of their VO2 maxes, where they're able to just keep going and going and going and going. And it's Jax with science facts. Nerd time. Let's get to this. Okay, so I'm just gonna break this down and make it super easy to understand and not make it overly needlessly complicated or anything like that. So all you gotta do is follow along with me. Now some things I will admit I have talked about in previous with that workouts, so I won't go as in depth with those ones, but again, you can go look at the playlist and check them out. And be sure to hit that subscribe button because I talk about this stuff all the time and we have a lot of fun here. But let's break this down. So right here, we have our lot of muscle Bakiyoma motherfucker. Yes, long name, but he's a really cool dude. Likes to bodybuild in his spare time. Now, what does that mean? He has larger than average muscles, which means that his muscle fibers are larger than average as well. And if we've talked about in my Kenichi with that workout, when we talked about the pink muscle theory, you can just swipe up and check that out whenever you want to. And to put it simply, muscle fibers come in a different variety of flavors. There's slow twitch muscle fibers, which primarily work on endurance. So think of marathon runners like having to run miles and miles on end and having to stay gas the entire way through. And then there's fast twitch explosive muscle fibers. Think of like athletes like sprinters or football players or fighters who really want to end the fight quick, where they have to like dash in, but that can be a hindrance later on, as we'll explain. And as we see, muscle is a very active tissue, and the more muscle you have on your frame, the more it will actually boost your metabolism. So if you're actually trying to get like one of your anime boys and have like one of those eating fits like them, building an adequate amount of muscle will boost your metabolism so you can get your Goku on. But as you start to attain more muscle, that requires more blood flow. And blood flow is important because it gives you more oxygen, and how you get more oxygenated, you improve your VO2 max through cardio for your heart and lungs, as we've talked about many times before. And for all my fighters out there, all my boxers, everyone out there who've done MMA and boxing classes, you know how tiring this is. You remember those first few classes, how you got so gassed out, or when you actually have to push yourself with training? It is such a big thing that just makes you shocked that you go, oh my God, I can't believe I have never felt this tired before, because they will work you so hard to push up your VO2 max, because again, they're not trying to make you as like aesthetic as like, a god or a model or something like that. They're just trying to make you efficient so that you can whoop someone's ass in the ring. Now, I know a lot of you watching are probably like, well, I know a lot of muscle, low fat, Bakiyoma motherfuckers in sports. And yeah, there are a ton of like super jacked and lean athletes out there who are very incredible athletes and do like some insane feats that you're just like, whoa, they are beasts in their own right. But let's look at the type of athletes these people are, like primarily, like a lot of muscle, very low body fat. So most of these athletes are in, stuff like football or sprinting and stuff like that, and they are incredible. They can do these bursts. They're like super fast. They're super incredible. They're able to do all this amazing stuff. No one is taking anything away from that. Again, I have nothing but respect for all these guys. But when you're talking about going on to fighting stuff, while there are a ton of jack fighters like this, the problem with that is because they have so much fast twitch muscle fiber use, which again, if we talked about in my Kenichi video of how like these muscles get fatigued faster because they're so explosive and they don't use oxygen as energy, they're anaerobic by that way. So it's pretty cool. I talk about it super in depth in my Kenichi video, so if you want to watch that, go check it out. And just to break it down again and make it super easy to understand, lactic acid is the waste byproduct from anaerobic respiration. So if you don't know what that means, basically when you're doing aerobic activity, that's using oxygen. So think of running or jumping rope or doing all that stuff, that's using oxygen. But when you're doing anaerobic activity, without oxygen. So you think of lifting weights or when you're sprinting or stuff like that, because when you do it, when sprinting, your muscles cannot use oxygen fast enough as fuel, so your body will use lactate as a source to make energy for yourself during the workout. Now, the thing is, once it starts to build up in the muscles, like especially in these fast twitch muscle muscle fibers. Because of all the explosive activity, the lactic acid will start to build up because like, oh, okay, I'm not using oxygen here, I'm just using, you know, lactate and all that stuff. It will start to build up, and that will make you feel sore and tired at a faster rate. So as it goes on, like, you know, you're just bursting, you're bursting. That's why fast twitch muscle fibers get fatigued faster. That's why they get fatigued faster, because they're not using oxygen for that. So that's why you see all these people who are going great at first, but then later on they start to get, you know, really tired and really effed up. But because of the fact they built up so much fast twitch muscle fibers from their training, and they have such low body fat as well, this lactic acid builds up and will make them tired. So if you notice these people fight, like there are tons of like yoked athletes who can beat up half the world, like they're freaking insane, incredible fighters and stuff like that. But as the fight goes on, they can't go like into deep waters. Like they have to end the fight faster, because as the fight goes on, they will noticeably get more and more drained throughout the way, just from how their body is set up. And that's not a bad thing. Like it just means that you have to be like smarter in how quickly you can dismantle your opponent, which makes you more creative and stuff like that. But if the opponent is like knowing how to keep going, then that's where the issue comes in. And that's the thing about like all the Baki and Kengan fighters, as I've said, like their stamina is absolutely insane. Like they're fighting like they can just go on for 15, 20 rounds because they have insane physiques drawn, because that's just, you know, what sells. I keep stressing this, but looks sells so much in this world. Like for instance, like if you have a decent amount of fat on your body, like not like morbidly obese, but like a decent amount of fat, like remember like level 1, level 2, level 3, watch this video if you don't know what I'm talking about. It helps with your hormones, helps with your immune system, helps keep your energy up. And the fact that if you are too lean, there is a loss of energy faster. And if your FMMI, your fat-free mass index, which we talked about before, boom, you can check that out, the Would That Work Out playlist in depth, you will have immune system drop, and it just has all these extra costs where you're getting yourself tired for no extra reason because of the extra size frame that you have to manage. Because the thing about this is abs do not mean you are healthy. Just because you are, you know, super ripped, that does not mean that you're healthy. Now I'll make that perfectly clear. Abs do not mean that you're not healthy. That's stupid to say. That I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is like the leaner you get and the more size you put onto your frame, then it becomes like, okay, are you okay to like do all this extra activity for things? Because your body doesn't like being too insanely lean. But again, like, you know, it depends on what works best for you. And then there are people out there who, you know, I want to say something, but I don't want to spoil my next video, so you'll just have to, you know, subscribe and see that next video, because like there's a big topic I really want to talk about, but I will save it. And again, I'm talking here with just utmost respect for everyone, and I don't want to make it come off like, oh, all bodybuilders can't fight for shit or something like that, because that's not the case at all. Like I know actually quite a few bodybuilders who are like 3rd degree black belts, some that we used to do MMA with in my old gym, who are just like freaking beasts in their own right. And hell, like there are tons on YouTube, like freaking like Juji Mufu's badass self, freaking I think Goku Flex's black belt too, like he's badass as hell, and then I think even Tehran is too. I don't know, but like they're all freaking jacked as fuck and badass as hell, and they're able to do all this stuff. But what I'm saying to you is this: it's the body fat percentage. Because first is this is what I'm saying, all right? Because the Baki characters, we all know they're designed to look like on stage bodybuilders. Like that is a fact. Like that is an undeniable fact right there. So what I'm saying to you is this: if you took a bodybuilder, right, who also is a martial artist, and you told them, hey, I want you to get like ready, like you were gonna get on stage, right? Like if you're gonna prep to get on stage to do a bodybuilding show, and then I want you immediately to go fight 15 rounds in a boxing and MMA match, all right? They would not be happy. That is just a fact, all right? They would not be happy if you made them get that aesthetic and lean just to fight, and then they can't like refuel afterwards. They have to look exactly like that and then go and fight on the same day. Like they would be absolutely like angry and pissed off about that. Like hell, bodybuilders in the comments down below, tell me about that. If you had to go do a bodybuilding show the same day, you had to fight 15 rounds and you couldn't like pump up, you couldn't go eat any food, you had to look exactly like that in the ring and fight, how upset would you be? Like, tell me, how upset would you be? Like, it would be freaking hell, right? Because I know in the past when I briefly talked about this stuff, there always gets someone who gets overly upset and overcompensates and starts going like, oh, what the fuck does your scrawny ass even know about Baki? Why don't you go eat some shit and lift some weights, motherfuckers? Because like, I'm like Joseph Joestar predicting stuff. Like, it's usually some insult, some variation of this, and the reason why is because of this. And it just every time, like bar none. But like the point is, I want to make it perfectly clear, I know I'm not the biggest dude around, and I don't try to pretend to be at all. And that's one of the things I always want to encourage people with their fitness. Like every body is different and reacts differently, so it's up to you to find what you want. Like there's not everyone's going to be like, you know, freaking Ryan Garcia and Manny Pacquiao, and not everyone's going to be like freaking Thor the Mountain, freaking top tier powerlifters and all that stuff. You got to find what works best for you, and not everyone's going to be like a bodybuilder. It just depends on what you want for yourself. So that's why I'm so encouraging on helping people find what works best for them and lift them up instead of putting them down, because that's just so much shit on the internet of just like people just going like, you look like trash, you look like this. Like, no, we're supposed to be strong people, all right? We need to lift each other up. That's what strong motherfuckers do, all right? We don't put people down. That's what weak things do, all right? Lift each other up, all right? Y'all kings and queens and do that shit, all right? I know you got to believe it in yourself, but yeah, at the end of the day, I think it would be a bit better to just, you know, focus on getting more manageable physique. So for example, if you're trying to bulk up and add size to your frame, but you're trying to still be like an athletic fighter, it's on you to like make sure you train yourself properly. If you're trying to actually like get a physique just like a Baki fighter, and then like, you know, go and do martial arts and stuff like that, and then like see how effective you would be, I feel it would be more plausible to do the other thing around, because there are tons of great fighters out there who are yoked, but not necessarily so yoked where you can like see like their skin like cellophane. Because remember, all these characters are designed like freaking bodybuilders on stage, with how like the muscles and striations and feathers are all just like completely sculpted, all of them just magnetized to look their best. But you can talk to any bodybuilder who's done like show prep like that, and they'll tell you like that was not them at their strongest at all, because of all the stuff they had to do to dehydrate to get to that looking physique. Like how I've tons of friends who are bodybuilders who have told me horror stories about their show preps. And hell, if you are a bodybuilder watching this right now, so you know people don't think I'm talking out my ass, tell them your experience below. Tell them how you did your show prep, and like how it was when you got on stage, like how you felt, and then how you felt like during it and afterwards. So, like I'm really curious to hear any of those stories, because I always love learning. I love to like interact with my audience more. And yeah, again, like just tell me. I love this so much. This is the very reason I made my Baki Tough Like the Tunes how I did, because if I just gave you a standard bodybuilder routine, while that would help you to, you know, develop a look very similar to body, a very similar aesthetic, if I just gave you that with no the strength and conditioning routine, then you would just look it. That's why I made the strength and conditioning routine, because training like a fighter and training like a bodybuilder are two different things, but you can like blend things together and help them like make a great overall product. And if you're interested in trying it, swipe up. Go ahead, look at that little link right there. Another thing, I love the questions y'all send me, but I noticed that my business email can get kind of full. So what I did was I decided to make an entire email just for this. It's called Ask Jax Nerd Facts. There's the link down below right here. You can see it. So if you have any questions like that, or video ideas, and you want me to like shout you out or anything like that, just let me know. Send a question there. I'll do a video on it like I did with this. This was super fun. And yeah, that would be really awesome. So thank you for that. I love doing these videos, and I love interacting with y'all. Like y'all are the best. You're super, just saying. Again, this video is not made to disrespect anyone at all. All right, I just made it because I thought it was a fun question, and you know, of course, I just thought I'd share my piece on it, and I love talking about this sort of thing. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd like to do a little test. Type in hashtag Omeroids, or just type in Omeroids down below. Don't put the hashtag, because if you put the hashtag, it'll get sent to like something else. I've noticed that, like it'll get held for review or something. So just type in Omeroids down below. I think that's a funny word. And yeah, a few updates. My TMNT video is being edited on. I can't wait to show y'all when it's done. I sent it over to editors, so it's going to be a nice massive video when it's finished. I've also been working on, I finished my DANBERU follow along course. I did this entire course based on however the dumbbells you lift. All you need is a couple pairs of dumbbells, and you can work out with me, like do an entire follow along program, comes with calendars, all that stuff. Meal plans of various routines if you're interested in it. Remember, you don't have to. There's all this stuff in my channel below just to help y'all out, because I love that help people. I love seeing people transform my Twitter. And yeah, if that's what you're interested in, let me know. But anyways, hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you learned something. And remember, like I always say, keep calm, booyah on. Don't forget, Momentai. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.